What I wanted to look at is the important topic of the role of the cities and really how we see the urban experience. I'm going to build on what other people have said, but I think I may have a different take on it. What I wanted to first of all try to do is to explain what a city is, and I'm looking at Herbert Girardet, environmentalist, European environmentalist, who looked at London as a case study. He called London the mother of all mega cities because it was the first city to reach 1 million people 200 years ago. And then 100 years ago, 28Mar09, who was a social commentator and an author, wrote a book called The Soul of London, specifically to understand the nature of the soul, what makes London London. He looked at 120 pages looking at the ups and downs, the positive and negatives, and entering, experiencing all of London, he basically said that he couldn't explain it. That was the result of his considerations. And this great quote where he says, England is small, but London is illimitable. There are no limits to London. And I think that, to me, explains what is meant by the metropolitan experience. It's a psychological approach, I suppose, to recognizing that whether you can define it or not, there's something positive about that kind of lack of boundary. And the truth of that comment, I think, is still true. But it's interesting to pose his enthusiasm for the lack of limits about the London flux with today's general fear of the lack of limits and the flux. Some people, I think, have already kind of talked about it. 28Mar09 wasn't worried about the boundaries. But now you have this kind of general discussion, worry about the geographical reach of London. Whether it's a global city, this is to look at some extended areas that are going to be developed in the next couple of years. You have discussions about where does suburbia begin. Does Paris become a London suburb? Does London become a Brussels suburb? Broader discussions about the overarching reach of London as to where it sits in the world. There's a general sense of a lack of direction and a worry about the fact that we're losing identity. Conversely, there's also a fear of people living inside London never know their own internal areas. So there's a certain kind of a worry in the discourse, especially amongst the philosophical authors these days, about whether it's a fear of expansion or whether it's a kind of a promotion of introspection, of localism. There's a general kind of worry about what we are becoming as urban dwellers. And they may have technical and policy implications, which is fair enough.
More than 2 million clients in gas and electricity, and he's also one of our major founders, alongside university, bank foundation, and so on. And if someone of you is not confident with what exactly district heating is, have a look at this picture. This is Torino. In the south part of Torino, we have a big combined heat and power plant, and the steam, a kind of byproduct of this plant, is used to heat water, and the water is channeled into a double pipe network of hundreds of kilometers in the south and in the southern west part of the city. And two goals, you must have two policies, and probably you will have a conflict. Well, this is actually a happy exception with two goals with the same policy, and unfortunately it's not so common. But let me go back to the first aspect of district heating, that is environmental policy, and this is some data, some figures about the powerful capacity of district heating to displace externalities, that amounts to a million in Europe tons of CO2 avoided. But what is more interesting is that the virtues of district heating are already known. The literature is full with the demonstration of the environmental virtues of these technologies. And what is less known, and probably what is more interesting, is that lower attention has been devoted to the question of tariff and to the question of network regulation. And you know that when consumer attention or regulatory attention is very low, we can find high rents